Ladies and gentlemen, this is White Lightning 777, here to do another video. The topic of today's video is that Vladimir Putin is no right-wing hero. In fact, he's just a Democrat scoundrel, and his tactics are identical to the Chinese Communist Democrat Party that we see overrunning the country and a source of socialist infestation. That's just the way it is. And there are very specific proofs. I mean, there's about 4, maybe 5 of them. 4 reasons basically why. Well, there's a lot more. There's over 10. But I'm just going to pick the most straightforward and easiest to understand for the length of brevity here. Won't be a very long video. The first reason, the first commonality that Putin has with... So what's this video rated? Is it for kids? Well, I don't know. Let's just rate it S for scandal. Okay, we'll deep dive into American politics. And we'll show this is mainly directed toward a right-wing audience. It's kind of, that's the intended audience. The MTGs and Tucker Carlson's of the world, I guess. Or the Michael Knowles of the world. And I like a lot of these people. They just happen to be wrong on one issue. Well, you can be wrong on 1 or 2 issues. That's fine. The first reason, of course, the first commonality between Rutsch Namir and Putinism and the Democrats is anti-Semitism. The United States CCP Democrat Party uniquely alone in politics has an absolute major problem with anti-Semitism. Whether it's Farrakhan, whether it's Rashida Tlaib, whether it's Uma Abedin, whether it's Ilhan Omar or Linda Sarsour, and scads of others, there is an infestation of leftoidist, socialist anti-Semites in Congress and in other areas, and anti-Semitic attacks in blue states far outnumber those in red states. It takes a lot of courage to wear a yarmulke and call yourself a Zionist and have a Star of David at a leftoidist university like Berkeley or UCLA. You're likely to get stomped by Antifa. Try it at Hillsdale College or a Christian evangelical community. Jews are fine. Perfectly safe. That's what leftoidist Democrats do. See, you have to understand that, sure, they pander to Jews, and unfortunately, many Jews are Democrats. I mean, these people are, slitting their own throat. They're not acting in their own self-interest. If you're voting for people that want to defund Israel, not in your interest. Okay? Just not. But you have to understand that pandering is part of discrimination. See, when a psychopath is beating you up and they're yelling, "Stop hitting me, stop hitting me, stop hitting me," while they're hitting you, that is a psychopathic trick. That's what psychopaths do. Pandering is just another, "Oh, I love you." It's just another form of discrimination. And also, the other interesting thing that U.S. Democrats do is they characterize Jews as Nazis. I mean, to me, that's just, calling Benjamin Netanyahu a Nazi or Zelensky a Nazi. I mean, this is just a form, it is just Holocaust denial. Flat out. I mean, this is pure and simple. That's all it is. There's no other way to put it. There's no such thing as anti-Zionism. It's just another form of anti-Semitism, like BDS, boycott, defund whatever. It's another type of anti-Semitism. And, and we see that as well. Now, when it comes to Putin, you can see that he's doing the same thing. Like Democrats, Putin is pro-Palestinian. Putin wants to drive Israel into the sea. And, the Israelis, they have kind of a tense relationship with the Russians, but there is an element of coercion. It's the Russians like, "Hey, I can always give Syria money, and I can always give Iran money." I mean, and Putin is currently buying stuff from Iran and funding Israel's enemies. Putin's giving more money to the enemies of Israel than he is to Israel. And not to mention Lavrov's remarks, comparing them to that and making remarks about the Holocaust and so on. And you also have, with Democrats, you have a huge problem with black supremacism infesting that party, also virulently anti-Semitic. Putin does the same thing. I mean, yes, it's officially legal to be Jewish in Russia, but, as a practical matter, if you're a minority group in Russia, you're going to be conscripted and you're going to be sent to the front just because, by coincidence, subjected to violence, subjected to personal risk. That's the way it is. Okay. The other reason, of course, is you have, the other commonality you have between Democrats and Putin is crooked churches. I mean, if you look at the leftoidist churches, like take, stereotypical case, Al Sharpton, okay, or Reverend Wright. If you want to, make the kids transsexual or be pro-abortion or do any other kind of anti-Christian thing or promote eco-terrorism, there's a plethora of leftoidist churches in the United States, crooked churches, that will do this. And many of them are infested with activists. They're actually just madrasas of communism. Of course, we see the same exact thing in Russia with the Orthodox Church. This is a thing that is infested with KGB agents. The head of this church, Kirill, is a bootlegger. Is literally wanted for smuggling tobacco and other products, and they launder all the KGB's money. I mean, and you see the same thing in Ukraine, like the Orthodox Church in Ukraine broke away from the Russian Orthodox Church at the start of the war, and whatnot, and did see their rule, their theology is that every country has to have its own pope and its own patriarch and its own church. The church should follow the nation. Well, most of the Orthodox churches obeyed the law and they're fine, but a few of them, in defiance of their own doctrine, stayed with Russia. And these churches started handing out conscription forms and recruitment forms for soldiers, blessing weapons, and recording confessions when people would go to confession and sending them to the Kremlin. Okay? A double agent in priestly garbs is not a priest. They're a double agent in disguise. They're just undercover. And, of course, at the complaints after Ukrainians complained about this, the government finally acted, in my opinion, far too late and, shut a lot of these outfits down and seized that. You have people handing out, Russian leaflets and propaganda and hate speech. In a war, you can't do that. For example, in World War II, the United States didn't just intern Japanese and Germans in camps. They also interned all white nationalists, all Nazi sympathizers, all the Klansmen, all the skinheads, all the members of the Bund were put into internment camps like Crystal City and other places, because you can't do things in wartime that you can do in peacetime. Again, the association with crooked churches is a Democrat tactic that Putin also practices. Okay? Essentially, Ruch Namir is just a perversion of religion. It's like jihad or Ku Klux Klanism or anything else. It's just another one of those violent, barbaric, theocratic types of strains of, I use the term religion loosely, that should just basically be wiped off the face of the earth. It's not compatible. It's extremely anti-American. The other thing you have to realize with that, the other commonality they have, the third commonality, is a long-term association with criminal organizations. See, the Democrats, it's kind of like, you ever read Harry Potter? The House of Slytherin, where the bad guys are? That's essentially what the Democrat Party is. They started out, and this has been going on for a long time. Like, look at Andrew Jackson with the Trail of Tears. Although he was right about the central banks, though. But look at how all the treaties he broke with the Indians. Then they started the Civil War once. They formed the KKK. The KKK is an outgrowth of the Democrat Party to enforce their rules. And they were also involved in lynching black people. Now, this has a long and complex history, but the main reason for lynching was that abortion was illegal in the United States, but there were some exceptions. One, if it was interracial, and if the was interracial, and two, if it was rape. So basically, the Klan was running these illegal abortion clinics, and but the problem is, if you want to say that something's the result of interracial rape, well, you got to have a rapist. You can't have rape without a rapist, and so periodically, in order to keep the scam going, they had to lynch black men and accuse them of various crimes, and then, it would be, and every time the abortions were investigated, the police would be confronted with tearful white women. That was the guy who did it. Fake rapes are common. Fake hate crimes, they've been doing that for years. Then they went on to get involved with machine politics like Tammany Hall. They went to get involved with the mafia, the bootleggers. After that, when the USSR came to power, the Democrats formed an alliance with communists. They were spitting in the face of our soldiers in Vietnam. JFK, not all of them did. Some of them weren't corrupt, like JFK was all right. But he was the last good one there. And look what happened to him. Gee, I wonder why. And lately, and after the USSR fell, they bequeathed a gift to the Chinese Communist Party, namely the Democrats, who basically have fused with the Chinese Communist Party. And if you don't believe me, in 1996, why did Bill Clinton give forbidden and restricted rocket engine technology to China? You can if you're one party, one organization, and trying to form one country. And they've basically been sort of sock puppets of the CCP ever since. And if you look at where these Confucius institutes are, they're in Democrat states. Of course, Putin, we have the same exact long-term association with crime. We have, KGB, a Stalinist organization that killed more people than Hitler, and he's part of that. He also launders money for the Russian mob. He sells crocodile to his own people and profits from this personally. He steals from the National Treasury, profits from this personally. His association with the oligarchs, the Russian mafia, assassinating his political enemies. Oh yeah, the Democrats do that too. Who has had more of their personal political enemies killed, Hillary Clinton or Putin? Your guess is as good as mine. And you have a sick society when you have certain people that are above the law and it's ignored or treated as a joke. There's even this series called They Will Kill You. As deadly as tarantulas. Never mind tarantulas that have killed anybody. 10 deadliest ones. Well, they also have one of their shows is essentially on Hillary Clinton and all the people that she's murdered. And it's portrayed as a joke. No one does anything about it. No one will prosecute Putin for putting Novichok in people's underwear. No one will prosecute Hillary Clinton for killing Vince Foster, Seth Rich, or Ron Brown, among others, and there are many others. You have a certain people that are too rich, so rich that they're unarrestable. They're essentially like royalty. They're above the law. This is something that Democrats and Putin's Rutschnemir idiots have in common. Okay, we'll get into that. The other thing, the other fourth thing that you have in common is bad health policies. The Democrat lifestyle that they advocate is not in your personal health. It is not suitable for human beings to consume bugs. Or you have fat positivity. They're telling people it's fine to be 300 pounds. Wrong. Obesity is just as dangerous as smoking. You have many Democrat anti-vaxxers. Oh, yes, they're Democrats. Malone, McCullough, Hope Hicks, who's a sex therapist, by the way. peddling anti-vax stuff in red states. Now, the vaccine turns out not to be quite as safe or as effective as they thought. But, why are you selling a vaccine only in blue states to your constituents and denying it to your political opponents? Clearly, you're promoting unhealthy practices. You also have them legalizing, a variety of recreational drugs. The same thing, of course, is true in Russia. You have, the number one cause of death, and the other thing with Democrats, the other thing they promote is mental illness. I mean, you have feral, homeless humans living on the street that are not being committed to psych wards and put into inpatient situations where they can be stabilized. And a lot of these people, let's face it, they're never going to be healthy enough to live on the street, barring some breakthrough and cure. You also have them pulling homosexuality off of the DSM. This queerness is a mental illness. You're going to die of age. You're going to have higher rates of colorectal cancer, higher rates of domestic violence, higher rates of a variety of STDs. The males suffer a little bit more than the females, but even in the females, it's destructive. Of course, you have the same thing in Russia. Crocodile use, the main cause of death is cirrhosis of the liver. You have an abortion rate of Russia of 3 out of 4 females have had at least one abortion. You have a 70% rate of divorce. You have no FDA, no environmental regulations. Everything's toxic. Products are unsafe. In no way, shape, or form, suffice it to say, is Russia in any way a religious country. The lifestyle is unhealthy. I mean, whether you're going to die faster from crocodile and alcoholism versus, taking widespread psych meds and transsexual hormones or whatever. I mean, I don't know which lifestyle will kill you faster. I suspect the crocodile might work a little bit faster than these other things, but if you live a leftoidist lifestyle, or you live like, unfortunately, many of the typical Russians live, you're not making it to 100. In fact, you're probably not even going to make it to 50 years of age. Okay? The other thing you have in common is lying, even though people know you're lying. And there are many examples of this. We'll take the Democrats. They know that, for example, the Confederate flag does not mean that people want to rebuild the plantations and start slavery up again. They know that. They could do any survey in the South and ask people what their attitudes are and find this out in 5 minutes. It means that people have regional pride. It means that people are, or maybe that they had ancestors who were conscripts who fought for the Confederacy. That's all it is. Or, something against centralization where they want more power for the local and state governments and less the federal government. That's all it is. They know damn well what that means, but they lie and call it racist anyway, and everybody knows that they're lying. They know that they're lying. We know that they're lying, but they do it anyway. Same thing with Putin. If you look at him calling the Azov battalion Nazis, again, the fact is that, yes, they started out that way, but in 2017, they abandoned those policies, opened up membership to all Ukrainians. It's like, how the White Citizens Council became the Council of Conservative Citizens and dropped all the racial stuff. That's what they did. Putin knows that. And he knows damn well that the wolf's angel symbol that the Azov uses, their version is not similar to the Nazi one. The Nazi one was white on black. The Azov one is black on yellow. The coloration is totally different. When it comes to flags or occult symbols, close only counts with horseshoes and hand grenades, not with those. And yes, the Azov battalion does practice kind of a version of a Satru. They're kind of neo-pagans, but so what? You can't just bomb people because you don't like their religion. Even if somebody is a witch or a Satanist or whatever, You can't just drop forbidden weapons and white phosphorus on them. That's a war crime. That's the way it is. So these are 5 kind of basic reasons why Putin and his tactics are identical to the Chinese Communist Democrat Party. There are others, but these are a good 5 to start from, and these are a good basis for research. You could develop it on your own. So what are the conclusions? What should be done about it? Yes, we should, the Ukraine skeptics are right. Yes, we should absolutely militarize the southern border and put up Trump's wall and fill it up with landmines and snipers and kick out the illegals. We're a superpower, we can do that. But that doesn't mean that you ignore foreign policy and allow this rogue third world theocratic bunch of lunatics in Russia running amok around Europe, just bombing any damn thing that's not already in NATO. Ukraine should get heavy weapons. They should get ATACMS, including nuclear ATACMS. They should get F-16s, F-15s, F-18s. They should get a buttload of Abrams tanks. They should, tell Germany to get lost. They don't want to license the Leopard tanks. So what? Just other countries have it. They can send it to them. And if Germany doesn't want to sell Poland or Finland Leopard tanks because they send them to Ukraine, guess what? We have Abrams tanks. We could just send them Abrams tanks. They're gas guzzlers and they're trailer queens. They need a lot of work, But, once you set up the logistics, they're fine. And like any other military hardware, Abrams tanks and Leopards, they're soldier-proof. They're made to be run by kids that just got out of high school. They don't need a college education to run them. We should give Ukraine what they need to win and win quickly. Because the best way to deal with violence is to end it quickly. This is White Lightning 777 signing out. Slava Ukraine. Beat the hell out of Zelensky. Don't sign a damn thing with Russia. Throw that, you need a very sophisticated plan. Throw them the hell out on their ass. Kick them out. You don't have to sign anything if it's a special military operation and not a war. Then you don't need a treaty. Like if the United States, say, assassinates a member of Al-Qaeda, that's a special military operation. You don't need a treaty. You don't need to sign anything. Just kill the bastards. Anyway, this is White Lightning 777 signing out. Long live the Republic.